The big story this morning that is coming in from Iran. Are we staring at the possibility of another year of conflicts? Because the signals coming in right at the start of the year are very unsettling. After the US President Donald Trump attacked Venezuela, Iran is now witnessing the worst nationwide unrest. And in the biggest statement, Donald Trump has said that he has cancelled all talks with Iranian officials. He has, in fact, urged the Iranian citizens to keep protesting and take over their institutions, as he added that the help is on its way. So let's take you through the statement that has been given by Donald Trump. And it is up to you to interpret what you think is actually the statement that Trump is trying to give out. He goes on to say, Iranian patriots keep protesting. That's the message of solidarity that Trump had for the Iranian protesters, saying, take over your institutions. So this means that Trump is urging the protesters to escalate this protest, going on to say, save the name of killers and abusers. In fact, the US has also hinted that there will be an intervention, going on to also say that we will be there soon, going to say that the meetings with the officials has been cancelled already. So remember, US and Iran have had a lot of back and forth as far as the war of words are concerned. There was a meeting also scheduled, though Iran had made it clear that we want to have conversations only if the respect is mutual. But now Donald Trump going on to hint that no conversations are going to take place. Donald Trump has also declared a 25% tariff on the countries and businesses that continue to trade with Iran, warning that the order is effective immediately. Calling it a final and conclusive decision, the US president said the move is aimed at tightening economic pressure on Iran. Now, on the other side, Iran's supreme leader has also warned the protesters and accused them of acting on behalf of foreign powers and said that they will be dealt with. And as we speak, Iranians continue to protest against their government. In fact, according to reports, at least 2,000 people have died in this crackdown so far, with thousands more injured or detained. The protests, sparked by economic hardship and political repression, have now turned into a direct challenge to the regime. Internet blackouts, mass arrests, and use of force have not deterred these protesters who are demanding freedom, reform, in many cases an end to the rule entirely. The international community is also watching very closely because the pressure is mounting on Iran. There are calls that are getting louder for global intervention on the situation. We have more breaking updates now coming in. The US President Donald Trump has issued a fresh threat of a 25% tariff on any country doing business with Iran. Remember, India is also one of the trading partners of Iran. The government sources have revealed that tariff imposition is likely to have a minimal impact, though, because while India is among the top 5 trading partners of Iran, it is minimal business that is done with Iran. So it's going to have a minimal impact on the country. The trade between Iran and India stands currently at $1.34 billion. Senior consulting editor Srinjoy Chaudhary joins us on the broadcast. Srinjoy, good morning. As expected, tensions only seem to be escalating between US and Iran. What do you make of the latest statement that has come in from Trump, where he goes on to give his solidarity to the people, going on to say that we are with you? And what about the tariffs? What's going to happen next?
Well, there are two questions there. The first, as far as what is going to happen in Iran. Now these reports have come out about 2,000 people dead because the security forces in Iran fired on demonstrators, on protesters. Now, even if that number is a fraction, a small fraction, it's still a lot of people. And let's not forget, many more would be injured, many more would be detained. So the situation is very fragile, and we have to see how things get worked out. As far as President Trump is concerned, Iran has always been a bugbear. He has bombed Iran, bombed Iran's nuclear facilities. Now, what will he do? He has ruled out boots on the ground. Now, Iran is not Venezuela. And Iran is a country of 90 million people and has a strong military. So even if some of it has been degraded in these recent wars, fighting, let's not forget it has missiles. And it has missiles with fairly potent ranges. So they can hit American targets in the Gulf, where America has bases. And it can hit Israel. As has been said again and again, Israel considers America to be great Satan and Israel to be little Satan. Now, if Trump does not put boots on the ground, what can he do? He can bomb Iran's nuclear facilities, and he has already done that. He can bomb Iran's military facilities, that is possible, that Israel has done. But if he bombs and if he strikes, let's say, power plants or oil refining facilities, then the people he says he's standing by will be affected. And there will be civilian casualties. There will be collateral damage. As far as India is concerned, well, we are looking at 25% tariff because we also trade with Iran. But India's trade is so little, and it relates to basmati rice exports and imports of dried fruit. It is actually a minimal issue.
Okay, minimal impact on India, but India already has a big tariff with the United States currently at 50%, though the negotiations are still going on. Do stay with us just a moment. You spoke about the collateral damage and what is the situation in Iran currently. Let's talk about the death toll. The death toll from a crackdown on the protesters in Iran has now jumped to at least 2,571. Activists have confirmed this figure. The figures come from the US-based human rights activist news agency. So currently, because of the communication blockade in Iran, it's impossible to find out what the situation actually is. So these are the estimates that have come in from the US-based human rights activist news agency, which has been accurate in multiple rounds of unrest in Iran in the recent years. Now, the death toll has gone up to 2,571. Now, imagine these are protesters who are being targeted by the Iranian regime. We have more breaking updates coming in of the US President Donald Trump publicly warning the Iranian government to show humanity amid reports of violent crackdown on the nationwide protests. So Trump going on to say Tehran has a big problem, expressing hope that they're not killing people.
And do you have a message for the leaders currently of Iran?
Yeah, the message is they've got to show humanity. They've got a big problem, and I hope they're not going to be killing people. And I'm going to have a report very soon. It would seem to me that they have been badly misbehaving, but that is not confirmed.
Let's get you more breaking updates now coming in. As US and Iran tensions escalate, Trump has warned Iran to behave. After Iran threatens retaliation, Trump has referenced the past strikes, saying they don't have nuclear capability. So President Trump has sharply warned Iran.
Iran says that it will retaliate in the instance of U.S. strikes against U.S. assets in the Middle East. What do you say to U.S. service members about why it is worth the risk to intervene in Iran?
Yeah, Iran said that the last time I blew them up with the nuclear capability, which they don't have any longer. So Iran said that the last time. They better behave.
Shinjoy continues to stay live with us. So, Shinjoy, the warnings are now getting louder because Trump is now saying Iran must behave. This is also amid a lot of global anger as well over what's happening in Iran because the protesters have taken to the streets and there has been a very, very brutal crackdown on it.
The Iran must behave statement is a clear threat to Iran. And President Trump is making it very clear that he wants to do something. And he has met the man, Reza Pahlavi, the man who was once crown prince of Iran. He is the Shah's son. And of course, about 50 years later, earlier, there were these similar protests, and the Shah had to leave with his family. Now we see another round of protests, and the president has met the crown prince. Now what that means, we don't know. But he has assured the people of Iran that, yes, I am with you and help is coming. Now what does that mean? Is he going to strike? If he has to strike, he's already hit the nuclear power plants. The Israelis, just a few months ago, hit Iranian military facilities. Now, what more can be done? If you're going to hit power plants, if you're going to hit oil refining facilities, it will affect the people who are on the streets. So what is the solution is something we have to wait and see. Because at this point, it's very difficult to imagine the current leadership of Iran being forced to leave or any such thing. There is no chance of that happening right now. So what President Trump wants to do and how he wants to do it remains to be seen. He is, as he himself says, quite an unpredictable person. So under these circumstances, what the American response will be, we don't know. How the Iranians will react to it, we don't know. How it will affect that entire region, we don't know.
Okay, Shinjit, stay with us just a moment. You spoke about this. Trump's envoy has secretly met Iran's exiled crown prince. So let's delve a little deeper on that, on what can be expected next. It matters because this is the first high-level meeting between the Iranian opposition and the Trump administration. This also comes after Reza Pahlavi had also told the protesters that the world is watching and Trump has taken note of your bravery. This was a message that he had for the protesters. Srinjoy, so reports now confirming that there was actually this secret meeting that took place. Tell us why this is very significant and what could happen next.
Well, Reza Pahlavi's father was the Shah of Iran. And in the 1950s, the British and the Americans decided that Mossadegh, who was the Iranian leader at that time, he was a socialist, and they didn't like the idea of Iran nationalizing its oil fields. So Mossadegh was moved out and the Shah of Iran brought in. Now the Shah of Iran ruled for a long time, till the late 70s, when there were protests of exactly this kind. Now the Shah, of course, was very pro-Western. He was an authoritarian leader, an autocrat. He had a secret service called Savak and all of that. But there were huge protests in the late 70s, and then Ayatollah Khomeini returned, and since then Iran has been the way it is. Now, after all these years, after another 50 years, you find similar protests. Whether they are as intense, we don't know. But once again there are protests, once again there are firings, once again people are dying, and we have to see what happens now.
Okay, stay with us. We have breaking updates coming in from Iran. We spoke about the brutal crackdown on the protesters. In updates coming in, Iran is all set to execute a protester, a 26-year-old facing death penalty. The human rights groups have raised alarm over this incident. Unprecedentedly fast execution is scheduled for today. This is, remember, after Iran had also termed the protesters as enemies of God, which means they attract death penalty. And this is for the protests that are taking place in Iran. So Iran had already hinted that there will be a more brutal crackdown, and now it is all set to take place. And today, the execution of a 26-year-old protester is scheduled in Iran. There is shock across the world. An Iranian man is facing execution after he joined the anti-regime protests. Human rights groups saying that it has never seen a case move so quickly as that of the 26-year-old Irfan Sultani, an Iranian man who will be executed today. That is the schedule that has been put out. And Srinjoy, Iran had already hinted at a more brutal crackdown. Is this just the beginning? Because Iran had already said the protesters are enemies of God.
Well, we don't know the numbers of people who have been killed in the firings. This American-based human rights group says 2,500. Now, even if it's a fraction of that, even if it's 250, a 10% of that, 250 is a very large number. And then you add to the numbers who are injured in the firings. That would be a very large number. You think of all the people who've been detained. Now you think of one person who's been executed or is going to be executed. Now several things can result from this.
Okay.
Is this going to lead to more protests? That's one question. Is this going to lead to some kind of international outcry? That's the second question.
Okay.
Is Donald Trump going to see this and say, well, the Iranians have crossed the Rubicon.
Okay.
We have to go in and decide what we want to do. So will they bomb the nuclear facility?
It could be a defining moment. My apologies, Srinjoy. Do stay with us just a moment. Pathikrit Payan joins us on the broadcast. How do you look at this development? Because the human rights bodies are shocked. A 26-year-old protester all set to be executed in Iran today.
See, in most cases, regimes which are autocratic in nature, implode because of their inability to delicately hand any kind of protest. I mean, if you look at in case of Iran, even though Iran keeps on alleging that there are external elements, provoking and triggering or instigating these protests, there are measures and nuances of dealing with those protests. When a country has huge inflation, where $1 is equivalent to almost more than $1 million rial, the currency has gone for a toss. There are challenges. So in that kind of a scenario, if there are protests happening, one has to accommodate them, understand their concerns, and involve them in the entire governance process to ensure that their life becomes better. Instead of doing that, if you try to forcefully stop the protest by strangulating, by killing, by maiming, by wounding, and by hanging, then it is only going to provoke more protest. And then by crying foul that external elements are involved, that case does not get better. So I think Iran regime has to introspect that if today they have become so unpopular, if it is only the external elements or their own governance model equally is responsible for this.
Okay, all right. Pathikrit Payan and Srinjoy Chaudhary, thank you for joining us on the broadcast. With that, we shift our attention to more breaking updates coming in. Secretary Rubio